Yeah, we've seen like how to install the commandcenter package, media agent package, and installing the file system package, Windows file system package, and Linux file system package. And we have covered, like so day-to-day activities of the backup admin, and also like after that, we have seen like using the command center. Like the previous videos is about by using an COMSIL console, how you can do these steps, like installing the Windows file system, Linux file system, and using the command center, we have seen in the last session how you can install the agents, file system agents. So in today's session, it's very important. We'll see the logical architecture. So what actually means a logical architecture? So this is a physical architecture, and now logical architecture we have to see. So in the logical architecture, so what we have here is the backup set and subclient and plans and storage policies. So this will come under the logical architecture. So if you see the client structure, so for example, if you consider the Windows file system, right? So we have installed the agent first, and after installing the agent, so agent is going to, right? It's going to scan everything on that server, right? It's going to see whatever the drives that are available, right? It's going to make an logical collection of all the data inside that particular client. So backup set you can call it as some logical collection of the data inside that particular client. And subclient is something like it defines the specific data within the backup set. You can see that backup set defines all the data protected by the agent, right? Whatever the data, like for example, in the client machine, you have the two drives, C drive and D drive. So backup set it defines all the data protected by the agent. That means it will, if you don't define anything, it's going to protect everything like C drive and D drive. So subclient is nothing but something. If you want a specific data within the backup set, for example, if you have Windows, same assume that Windows server. So you don't want, the backup the C drive because C drive usually contains an operating system and also like the system files and drivers and everything. So what you want is you want the protection only for the D drive where we have some critical data. So in that case, you can limit the data that need to be backed up, right? You can define only the data in the D drive, right? So that is possible by configuring the subclient. So we'll see that in the lab demo. So for better understanding, for now, just remember that it defines the data within the backup set. So next, plan. So plan will manage the subclient protection by defining the schedules and storage setting. So what actually the plan does? So plan will, so here, okay, now we know what need to be backed up, right? For example, D drive on the Windows file system. So we're protecting the D drive. So now, so if we decided what, I'm sorry, so what need to be protected, the next thing is that, so you have to define the schedule. So schedule is nothing but no. So when this data need to be backed up, how frequently, whether it should be daily or weekly or monthly, right? That is nothing but a schedule here. So schedule you define in the plan. And what else? So you define the storage, where the data need to be written, whether the data need to be written on the disk, sorry here, or the disk or tape or cloud storage. So that you define in the plan. So what else you'll define? So we define the retention also. Here you don't find any retention here, but plan will also have a retention. So retention means, for example, I'm taking the D drive backup. So how many days I have to keep on the storage? So for example, if you say that on the D drive I have some uh, the exam reports, right? I have like for example, not exam. Let's consider in the real time. Like for example, customer has some data about the employees, right? He has a data about the daily attendance. So that data need to be backed up. Now after 1 year, so he doesn't have to maintain that attendance data of his employees, right? So he don't need that, right? That is obsolete for the customer. So what the customer can do is that he can define the retention for 1 year. So after 1 year, the data is not required. So that data will be aging out. So which means that all the data will be deleted by the COM vault after 1 year. So that retention can also be defined in the plan. So yeah. So and what is the difference between the storage policy and what is the difference with the plan? So I mean there are two things, storage policy and plan. So let's see. So storage policy is something is both are similar anyhow. I would say not similar. They can be very near. So plans we define in the command center. Storage policies we define in the COMSIL console. So I told you like we have two consoles, right? One is COMSIL console, another one command center. So in the command center you configure plan. In the COMSIL console you configure policies. So both will, you know, so does the same things, but very slight differences here. We'll see that in the lab demos. So let me play one lab demo. Okay, so one more thing I missed. Okay, apart from these things, you also have an, yeah, the storage also, right? When I say the plan, in the plan is going to write on the storage, right? So you need to know little bit about the storage. So now, so in the COM vault, right? Before you even configure an backup set and plans, the first thing you need to do is the storage configuration, right? So for storage configuration, so you can have an disk storage, which is called as a disk-based storage. For example, if I see my computer, right? So here C drive, so it is a disk, right? Similarly, you can have a tape-based storage, right? So usually you don't find this tape-based storage in the home, but you can find in the data centers. In the data centers, they will be using the tape storage, and you have something called a cloud storage. So nowadays, because of that cloud, uh, like AWS and Azure and GCP, they're emerging technologies, right? So everybody started using the cloud. So these service providers, they will offer cloud storage also. Like in Amazon, we call it as an S3, and in Azure, we call it as an the blob storage. So cloud service providers are offering the cloud storage. So we can use even the cloud storage also. So these are basically three types. And apart from this, Commvault has an offering for other two types also, like Metallic Cloud and Hyperscale. So that we'll see that later. So, but usually if you consider any backup vendor, whether it is in Veritas or Commvault or Veeam, so these three will be common: disk storage, tape, and cloud storage. So in today's session, we'll see how you can configure the disk storage on a lab. Okay, if you see the disk storage, we have an different types. Like we have an dedicated is nothing but something which is locally connected, right? Uh, I would say like for example, if I have one media agent, you can see this example. So this is a dedicated. So this MEA is nothing but a media agent. So VSA is a virtual server agent. So if the disks are directly connected to the media agent, if the disk is directly connected to only one media agent, right? If it is not shared with any other, then it is called as a dedicated storage. Shared storage. Shared is nothing but you can see here. So this particular disk is shared between two media agents, right? So that is called as a shared storage. So in the shared storage, we have again SAN and NAS, right? So yeah. So how you add the disk storage? So here in the command center, so I will show you in the demo. So there is an add disk option. So here you give the, let me see if I can make it big. Yeah, here you can see that media agent you define and the type local or network you define. And if it is a network based storage, you have to give the credentials. So credentials of your NAS path you have to enter. Okay, so let's see the demo. Okay, so I am on the ComServe machine. So for me, the default gateway is configured automatically. So I did not manually do it. Yeah. So here we can, I'm connecting from my laptop. So through RDP. Okay. So right now I'm on the command center, right? So you see on the command center. Yeah. Don't worry, I'll show you again if you, okay, RDP. So I'm trying to connect to the ComServe machine through RDP. Yeah, if you go to that storage and at the, if you scroll down, there is a disk, right? I already have one disk storage configured. I will add a new one, and here you need to give the name of the disk storage. So you can give any user-friendly name, right? So I'm giving disk library one, something like that. You see that there is an option to use an deduplication. So I'll let you know what that deduplication means. So deduplication is something it's going to write a unique chunks, right? So I already explained you earlier like about an deduplication. So let me tell you what that deduplication means. So deduplication is, for example, if we have there are two files, like for example, which are same replica. You have created one GB file on your computer, and you made a duplicate of that, right? For example, you have copied that onto the same drive, but you have, just copy and pasted it again. So with a different name. So that means you're having the same file with a different names. So when you backup, right, and if on the storage or on your backup tool, if your backup tool doesn't support deduplication, or if on your backup tool deduplication is not enabled, in that case, what it's going to do, your backup tool is going to write two files on the storage, and each one is of size 1 GB. So when it is trying to write, it's going to write 1 GB plus 1 GB, which is 2 GB. But if in case, if you enable the deduplication feature on the backup tool, what it is going to do is that it's going to see the unique blocks. So it is going to operate at a block level, right? So at the block level, if there is an duplication, right, it's not going to write it again. So first it will going to write in one file. So one file is of size 1 GB, and when it is going to write the second file, right, it's a different name, but the actual content is same. So what the backup tool will do, it's not going to write everything. It's going to only create some pointers, right? It's going to create some pointers, and very few bytes it's going to write. So that means you're getting around 50% savings there. Is it or not? Instead of writing 2 GB, it's writing only 1 GB. So we can say deduplication in the layman terms as in it's something, it's like it's a feature that will allow you to identify the unique blocks in the data, and it's going to write only the unique data on the storage. So here what I did, so I have disabled the deduplication. So we have to create one disk library without deduplication. Let's see both the cases. First, without deduplication, so I have disabled it. Okay, so if I see manage and go into the server section, so if you remember, like we have deployed the media agent, right, in yesterday's session. So these are the names of the infra servers that we have created. So I have an Ubuntu 20 and other servers. So what I want to do is that these names are confusing for me. These server names are confusing. I would like to rename that. So that is not possible on the command center, but it is possible on the COMSIL console. So what I will do, go to the client computer, right click properties, in the client name, right? The name, you can see that first row name. Name you can give as per your understanding, right? As per your specification. So for as an user-friendly name, you can define. You cannot change the host name, but you can change the name. Name is only an identifier, but host name you cannot change, right? So the name is an identifier. The client name is an identifier. You can change it according to your requirement. So I'm changing that to client, Linux client. So similarly, there is one more machine. So if you see that client name, that is totally, I can't understand what actually, the purpose of that. So if I go to the view, install software, it's showing the Windows packages, file system package. So I will name it as an Windows client. So simply by seeing the console, you should be able to understand. So that machine, what is the purpose of that machine? And there is one more machine. So even that client name, I cannot understand. So view install software, you can see the media agent package. So so this is the media agent, right? So rename that as an Windows media agent. Okay, now just again come to the command center in the server section. Now you can see that the names has been changed. Whatever the changes you do there, here also it will reflect. So the servers here is same as the client computers in the command center. Sorry, console console. Yeah. So you can say that. So in the client computers in the console console is same as the servers in the command center. Yeah. So on the media agent, I have only one drive. I would like to create one more drive for storing the data, right? So here hard disk, create a new hard disk, SATA drive. Yeah, go with the default option, and the size. So because I will be taking the backups of even in the future virtual machines, so I'll give you some bigger size, like 100 GB. And you need to remember that you need to have that much space on your local computer. So everything we are virtualizing, right? So it should be under specification as per your host computer. On my computer, I have, you see that 1 TB. So that's why I can give 100 GB easily. So it doesn't impact the performance. Okay, now I am inside the virtual machine. So search for create and format. So now you can see that it identified the new disk there. So I have to initialize that new disk. So MBR, the default partition should be okay. Click OK. I see that disk 1, which is the new one, is 100 GB. So it is online. If it is not online, you can make it online. Right click and online. But here it's showing unallocated. So which means that the file system is not created. If you go to the disk PC, you don't see any new drive here, right? It's only C drive you're seeing. So what you do, right click and format it, right? New volume, and then simply say next, and drive letter is E, that should be okay. NTFS default should be fine, and volume name you can change it. So I want to give something like mount path 1. So that's it. Now I can see that I have an on my PC, on this media agent, I have two drives. One is C drive and another one is E drive. So I want to use that E drive for creating a disk library. So I go to that command center again. Yeah, manage. not manage. You have to go to the storage section because for creating an library, you have to go to the storage section. So storage, select the. You can see that there are other types also which the COMVOLT is supporting, like hyperscale, metallic, distributed. But here this lab is for disk storage, right? Yeah. Again, go for add disk storage. So give some name, which is user friendly name. So disk library and non-dedupe. I'm giving a name like this because I am not using deduplication on this storage. So I'll disable the deduplication. Okay. Okay. Add. So select the media agent. So you can see that there are two types, local and network. So here we are creating a local. Okay. So when I browse it, it shows an mount path one, which is an E drive. Just now we created the drive, right? Click on plus symbol to create the folder. So folder name MP1. You can give any name. It's not needed. It's not needed to be hard coded. You can give any name. Click on add and save. So that's it. You can see that it's very simple process. With a few clicks, you are able to create an disk storage. So after now your disk storage is ready, right? And now let's create another disk storage. Okay, this time I'm giving disk library name as DD. Again, select the same media agent and backup paths. So type is local backup path. Okay, so usually it's better you select another drive, but since I don't have an another drive, I mean anyhow you can add it since it is an VM virtual machine, but I want to use then the same E drive. C drive I cannot use because it's an operating system drive, so it's not recommended to keep the backup data on the operating system drive. So always use some dedicated drive. So since I have only one drive, so apart from C drive, I'm using only E only. Okay, I created a new folder in the E drive. So I'm using that folder for storing the data, and that folder should be empty. You need to remember that the folder should be empty. So now I'm keeping use deduplication. So it says no dedupe location added. So you have to add the dedupe location. So again, the same media agent I'll select and browse, and you see that. So I have only one drive. So I'll show you again. I'll create one separate drive on the media agent because for deduplication database, for hosting deduplication database, you need to have a dedicated drive. So again, right click setting, new hard disk, again SATA, same process. For hosting the deduplication database, you need a separate drive. Okay, so for that we are creating a new drive. So 20 GB should be fine, right? Because deduplication size will not be that much big. So 20 GB because it's a small environment. Just I'm starting with 20 GB. Okay, now the drive is ready. Now go for create and format the hard disk. So this will open the disk management and new drive is identified. The same process. You have to format it with NTFS. So with the 20 GB drive, I will use the complete space. So F drive should be okay and give some name for easy identification. I'm giving DDB. DDB is nothing but deduplication database. So I have an DDB drive here. Just a second. Okay, so okay, add TDB partition. So browse for that F drive. So in the F drive, create a new folder. So you can give any user-friendly name. Okay, I'm giving DD partition one. So why given partition one? Because you can create a multiple partitions. So it's not needed to be same one partition only. You can give a multiple partitions for deduplication database. You can see that you can add in another partition also. So for now, it should be okay. So we'll work with the one partition only. So now you can see that we have a backup location and we have a deduplication DB location. Okay, click on save. Yeah, you can see that now we have created two disk storages. One is disk library dedupe, another one with non-dedupe. Okay, let's see how it looks like in the console console. So for looking into that, you have to go to that storage resources and libraries, right? You can see that if you created something on the command center, it will be reflected on the console also. For that, you have to go to the storage resources and library section. And you can similarly you can see on the storage pools also. So in two different locations you can see. So in the storage pools, you see here you have two storages that we created just now. And the type you can see that deduplication storage pool, right? This is deduplication storage pool. If you navigate inside that, it will show you the mount path, right? So you have to make your hands here, hands on. Okay, here in the deduplication partition, we created only one partition, but for some reason it is showing two partitions. So might be I have clicked it twice like that. So that's why it's showing two, but that should be okay. So that's the backup location. I mean, so we cannot clean up this. So for some reason it's showing two partitions. It should show only one partition. Might be the GUI error. So we'll see that later. And we have a non-dedupe storage pool also. If I go inside that, you can see that mount path here that we created with the EMP1. So you should be familiar with both the consoles, command center and console console, but when it comes to usage, you'll be using only one console. Yes, so the sequence is like this. So if you're in the, let's speak about the two things differently, right? If you're doing everything in the command center, so you follow only one console, right? In your organization, it's not recommended even by the COMWORLD to follow both the consoles. If you're following the command center, the sequence is like this. First, you'll be creating the storage. So if you go to the storage, we see that you have a different options, disk storage, cloud storage. We create a storage. And the next step is you create a plan, right? So which we haven't seen so far. Demo is not covered. After this, we'll see the plan. So after creating a plan, then you create an subclient, right? And then you will assign that plan to the subclient. So after that, we'll run the backup jobs. So that's the sequence. When you're creating, it will be like a disk storage and then plan and then subclient. So yeah, but when you are working on the COMSIL console, the sequence is like this. So first we'll be creating an the storage pool. So the storage pool will have in the storage pool you define whether you use the deduplication or not. If you're not using deduplication, in the pool you'll be having only one option, which is an library, right? So I think yeah. So I think I did not start the lab. I think otherwise I'll show you here only. Maybe start it. Sure. You got it right? Yeah. So the next step is after creating a storage pool, storage policy. So you have to create a storage policy, and then we'll be creating the subclients, and then you will associate that policy to the subclient. So okay, so here I have to yeah now you can see that I'm creating a plan here. So plans will be in the manage section, manage plans, right? I have two plans which I created earlier. Let's create a new plan. So server backup plan. So laptop plan. So that's not needed for now. We create a server backup plan. You see that create a new plan. So I'll be giving some user friendly name. So plan name is not hard coded. You can give any name. So because so I want to back up the Windows file system. I'm giving the name like Windows file system 1 week. I'm the retention is 1 week. So I given something name like Windows file system 1 week. And the storage where I'm writing is non-dedupe storage. So I mean it depends, like your organization might be having some naming terminology that they will follow, but here I am giving in this format. Okay, when I click next, it's showing add copy. So it's within that plan we'll be creating some copies, right? So the primary copy is the one which is the first copy it's going to write here. So the storage I selected here, you see that storage, and then retention I defined 1 week. And this is the frequency, how frequent the job will run. So here I don't have any full backup, so select the backup tab as full, and the remaining option should be okay. In full backup I want to run only once in a I'll say like once in a week on Sunday. You can see that. So now I have defined the frequency of backup. It runs, the full will run every weekend Sunday, and incremental will run daily every day 9 p.m. Okay, there is one caveat here because you have defined, like full on week Sunday. So incremental usually should not run on the Sunday because on Sunday full will run. So you need to exclude that on the Sunday. So what you can do, you have to edit that frequency and define it as then from Monday to Saturday only. Incremental will run on Monday to Saturday. So like that you can define. So for that you have to go to the run every and then select the week here. So if you select the days, it won't show you the like the day of the week. So what you do? I mean you can add the exceptions also, but I think that is not advisable. So what we can do is that better you define the days on what days it should be running. So select that and then click on edit. So here you have to select the weeks. So when you select the week, then it will show the option to select on which day. So if you drop down, yeah, you have to uncheck Sunday because on Sunday you are running the full backup. On remaining days, you will be running the incremental backup. So you selected all the days except Sunday. So this is what you call it then defining the frequency of backup, right? So we click on save, or we can also call it then recovery point objective (RPO). So we call it then, so when you define how much frequency you want, we call it then RPO, recovery point objective. So this looks good. We can go to the next now. And you are seeing the transaction logs. So transaction logs is for the database, right? So here we did not configure database. We'll speak about that once we configure the database. Yeah. The retention. This is for the snapshot option. This you can ignore because this option it will come into effect when you have an IntelliSnap feature. And that is then something different, like when you are configuring an snapshot based backup. So that you can ignore for now. You can click submit. So when you have not enabled an IntelliSnap, this option, snapshot options will not be on it. So right now we are not using that IntelliSnap option. So we are taking only the backups here, not the snapshot backups. Okay, this is a plan. The plan is ready. So you can see that in the overview and backup destination. The backup destination you have an snap copy, primary copy. So snap copy, as I said, it's like an if your storage is supporting a snapshot option and we have to enable the IntelliSnap, then that first copy, snap copy will be running. Otherwise, by directly primary copy, the jobs will write onto the primary copy only, which is a non-dedupe storage. So your plan is ready. Create another server backup plan. So this time we'll create an for Linux file system. Okay. So we have created the plan for Windows file system. Let's create for Linux file system and retention same 1 week. And the storage now this time we'll use the dedupe storage. It's not mandatory. So don't think that there is some hard rule like Linux should go to dedupe and Windows should go to non-dedupe. It's not like that. I'm trying to cover everything. I'm trying to cover dedupe and non-dedupe. So that's why I'm giving that dedupe storage this time, right? So I'm selecting a dedupe storage just to demonstrate that. That's it. There is no hard coding, right? So don't get into that impression. Yeah, 1 week retention. Click on next, and here again the RPO you have to define. So in your customer environment, there might be. So it depends on how it is architected. So your architect might be configuring the dedupe and not dedupe policies. So that's the reason why we are covering everything here in the demo. So again, the incremental should be from Monday to Saturday only. Okay, this was snapshot option. So this can be ignored because the IntelliSnaps we are not using in our environment. So even the customer will not be having IntelliSnap because this feature is a license feature. They have to buy for extra license, and your storage also has to support the snapshot feature. Okay, now see that now we have two plans. One is for Windows, other for Linux, right? So why you have named these two plans, the Linux and Windows? Because here for Linux, I will be configuring the Linux file system backups. For Windows, I'll be configuring the Windows file system backups, right? So that's the reason why I have given that, taken that naming convention. So don't get confused. So within the plans, there is nothing like Windows plan or Linux plan. The naming I have decided basing on the what type of data I'm backing up. If I'm backing up the data from the file system, Windows file system, I'll be using that Windows plan. And if I'm backing up the data from Linux file system, I'll be using the Linux plan. That's only for naming convention. But in general, there is nothing like the within the plans. There is nothing like Linux plan, Windows plan. It's only for our understanding. Okay. So this covers. Let me quickly write down the terminology here. What terminology I use so that I can give you some one-line description of it. In the next session, we'll see the default backup set and so subclient, and then we'll see how to run a backup and then how to run a restore for both the Windows file system and Linux file system. So, so what are the new terms here that we covered? Let's see the storage pool, disk storage, plan we have seen, server plan, Then we've seen RPO, and we have seen like what else we have seen here. Mm, and subclient and default backup set that will cover demo will cover tomorrow. So I'll write anyhow here only subclient and default backup set, and we have seen like what is the storage policy. So I mean I'll write under this one, and deduplication we have seen deduplication, and then I've seen like within the disk storage there is something called an mount path. So we'll see that definition of that too. And in the deduplication we have something called DDB partition. Deduplication partition. So sometimes DDB we can also call it as deduplication is also called as in short name as in DDB. So these terms we have like today we have covered. Like I'll give you the one-line description of this in the form of interview questions. And anything I missed, Suresh, like the new terms that I use here in today's class? Okay, good, good. Yeah. Okay, fine then. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Exactly, that's right. That's the purpose why the backup tools will have offer both the solutions. So they will offer the like optional feature in that the tool. Like customers might will use dedupe Commvault dedupe feature, or they can so they'd not use. Either it's up to them whether to use the feature or not to use. So I mean, if you're, I mean, your question is like when is a case like customer will not be opting for this feature? So it is a case like, for example, if you have some storage like HP Catalyst. So HP Catalyst, even Commvault recommend that use the HP Catalyst offered deduplication. So this is one type of storage where the deduplication happens in the storage box itself. So in that case, Commvault recommend not to use the deduplication. So in the COMWorld, we create a plan without deduplication. But if you're having something like NetApp Grid, so NetApp Grid, I don't know whether the storage support that deduplication, but COMWorld, want, when the customers want, like, COMWorld want the customer to configure deduplication feature when the storage is in NetApp Grid, or whether it is in disk library. Even for disk library, configure the DDP feature. And one more thing for tape library. For tape library, no, there is nothing like deduplication on the storage. So that's the reason why in the COM world you will not be using the DDB feature. For tape library, there is no deduplication, only compression. You get the savings only in terms of compression. Yeah, so it's an optional feature whether you can opt it or not to opt it. If you're opting it, and you have, like you need to see the storage also, like whether it is storage is in disk library, and also like storage is in like cloud storage, and you can opt this feature. But there is one more type of storage like HP Catalyst. In this case, Commvault itself recommend not to use that feature. So we don't configure and plan or a pool with deduplication. Yeah, this is the use case for that, not where the Commvault will not use the deduplication. All right. Okay, then stop the session. Okay. So we'll continue on Monday. Okay. Tomorrow we don't have any session. On Monday again, same time, 8:15 p.m.